Everybody, it's time for the shop.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Decide, Commit, and Resolve, The Shop. We get ready to start part 2 of this episode with our dear friends, Dr. Adrian Wideman and Pastor Vincent Perry. These guys, I'm telling you, are phenomenal. They got phenomenal ministries. God is truly using these men in a mighty, mighty way. They're not just great pastors, but they both can sing out of this world, and they are both low-key comedians.
You said something about a lightning earlier. They're rolling in now.
Hey, listen.
You comparing my second to his.
Hold up. Look, we're going to go ahead and put this to the test. So, can I get one bar, sir? Whatever you choose to say.
God has smiled on me.
That's all I'm going to do. That's all I'm going to do. I'll save it for Sunday morning.
See, he teased us a little bit. But,
come on, Vincent Perry. The M is for musically inclined.
Musically inclined. Musically miraculous.
You want me to go on? How you gonna put me in that position, man? How you Oh, how I love Jesus.
I hear you, Reverend.
Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, wow.
See, did y'all hear that? See, these guys be playing low key, but they are singers. They're comedians. You know what I'm saying?
And somewhere along the line, we preach.
Somewhere in there they preach. But again, guys, thank you for being on the show. We get ready to go ahead and start this part 2 of this episode. So, Pastor Perry, we're going to go ahead and take this one to you. Did you ever find yourself getting caught up in the hype of being a pastor and the title? And if so, how did you regroup?
Great question. I don't think I've ever gotten caught up in the hype. I think I've gotten caught up with thinking that I can do things as normal.
Whoa!
Wow.
Wow. And let me explain my point. There's a certain responsibility that comes with pastoring. Again, like I talked about, you were talking about the sheep. Well, we're the shepherd. Mm-hmm. We're responsible for the sheep. Again, scripture, and my good friend always told me, base everything on scripture. Base everything on scripture. When Jesus was telling his disciples to pray, and came back, they had fallen asleep. I find myself sometimes falling asleep on the job because there was somebody or something I needed to be praying for the church.
Come on, man.
And I didn't.
Wow.
And I wasn't. And you know, it's like, and I could tell, and it's amazing how much grace carries you during a sermon.
Yes,
when you think you did awful.
Yeah.
Come on.
You know, you got somebody who said, you know, man, we appreciate that word. You really encouraged me today. But you knew you didn't do what you should have done.
Come on.
For God.
Come on.
And you knew you didn't pray that week. And that's the most of the part I'm talking about. I usually don't have problems with preparing for a sermon as far as getting the information, whatever. But pastoring is more than just about getting the information out of the book. It's about being spiritually ready for Sunday. You can't get spiritually ready for Sunday on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
You better say it, man.
Yes, sir.
So I find myself slacking spiritually during the week, and then trying to put my spirit in a microwave on Saturday in order to deliver a hot meal on Sunday morning.
Come on.
I mean, you can only get by with microwave meals but so long.
But so long.
You know, and you know, there are times, and I think I think that's a constant struggle that you have to do, because sometimes in your mind there are justifications as to why I didn't spend time with God, with his work, family, even church, business, you know, that kind of stuff. But you have to stay focused and committed to God, and give him your time and stay spiritually awake for what awaits you on Sunday.
Come on. And there's a passage in scriptures in Acts where we know about a young man who was sitting in the windowsill. And
Eutychus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
while Peter's preaching, the young man falls asleep.
Yes, sir.
And it's so interesting that you use that analogy because there were people around him.
That's right.
And this young man fell out of the window and died because he went to sleep. And I often, remind myself, who am I allowing to go to sleep?
Yes. Yeah.
Who am I allowing to go to sleep? Because it falls on me.
That's right.
I have to. It's my responsibility, and my wife always remind me: make sure you talk to the children. Talk to them because we got to keep our own awake. Then go outside and try to keep others awake who God, brings our way. So you brought a really interesting.
The problem is not that people fall asleep in church. The issue is sometimes people are put to sleep by the church.
Woo! My gosh, my God.
That's what the issue is.
Don't patent that, Reverend.
Come on now. So he got to take it. That's a sermon topic right there.
And these churches, many churches, mine included, we are called to do more than just worship on Sunday morning. What have we done for the community? What are we doing for the people that's around us? Sometimes the community is put to sleep by the church.
Woo, man. So, Pastor Whiteman, have you ever found yourself getting caught up, with the hype of being a pastor or the title? And if so, how did you regroup?
There's not a lot of absolutes in my life, but I can honestly say that I've had people around me, and social media can be mean.
Oh yeah.
They keep me grounded. People will inbox me to tell me, how you gonna preach God? He ain't real. Jesus ain't real. Why you preaching to these black people that God did this for us? And man, that stuff is. People ask me why you don't defriend them. I said no, because we still got to know what the enemy's doing.
That's right. That's right.
And my wife keeps me humble now. If she'll let me know, you smell yourself. So it's never been to the point where I feel like I've arrived.
Come on.
And the like I said, the preaching part is enjoyable. Pastor Ball used to say, all the time, we used to get anxious, when were you gonna let us preach? He said, well, why? Well, I practice all week and let you get up there on Sunday morning and hit a home run. That's right. And it didn't make sense to me until he said it. Because Sunday morning that's the time that's game time. That's the exciting part. But it's that Monday through Saturday, like Pastor talking about, that you have to put in the work. You got to put in the time. You got to go do your visits, and in the meantime, you working a 40-hour job. You still got to study the word. You still got to make sure that you're taking care of the business side of the church. And so, I never came to the point where I feel like I'm a pastor.
I got you.
If anything, I'm like, oh Lord, I'm a pastor. Right. More than anything else.
Yeah.
So the humbleness of the position keeps you to a place where you should never find yourself saying you've arrived.
Okay.
And people see money aspect when it comes to pastors, and I still ain't figured that part out yet. I ain't figured that part out yet.
Yeah.
But there are some pastors who's in great positions to make a whole lot of money because of they have large congregations. But again, Biggie said it best. More money, more problem.
More money, more problem.
That's right.
So I've never got to the point where I felt like I poked my chest out because I'm a pastor. If anything, I've become more humble each year.
I got you.
That's because church folk keep you humble.
Man, they will do that. They will do that.
They'll keep you humble.
And if you don't stay humble, God got a way.
Yes,
He got a way of humbling you too.
God got a way. And I think more the reason is, man, I don't want God to have to show me that it ain't about you. I'm scared of that, man. I'm scared of that.
So, Pastor Perry, this one is for you. Part of our topic today is about the negative stigmas that tend to follow preachers and pastors. What are some of those negative stigmas that you've heard, and how have you dealt with them?
Well, the negative stigmas I haven't had to deal with yet.
Okay.
Yeah. I pray I don't. But you know, it's sad when we live in a community where, or live in a time where people, you know, it's tough for, I think, the traditional black church in this time, because you're quote unquote competing against the non-denominational churches who gear their church towards, and I say this loosely, having fun for everyone. And you got people that say, well, I can get church from the TV. I can YouTube Jakes. I can YouTube John Wesley. I can YouTube Jamal Bryant. So what do I need a pastor for? You know, what do I need a pastor? What do I need a church to go to for? What do I need that? They ain't doing them but lying no way. Why is the preacher driving a Mercedes? A BMW. Look at him. Hey, my car's leased from my other job. All right.
Disclaimer.
Right, disclaimer. Before this
Off the top.
Off the top.
Off the top.
Before y'all who keep on saying, well, you the one driving BMW. That's a lease from my job that I work for. All right. But the stigma that we're not needed, we got other options available. But as soon as sickness,
Yes, sir.
Come on, bro.
as death,
Yes, sir, Reverend.
as foreclosure,
Come on, Reverend. Come on.
with people calling you, giving them their sob story about they need money or something, and all you ask them. I've had cases where they ask me, can the church help me? And all I ask for them, I don't even say, no, we won't. I was like, well, you know, we can talk about it. Come visit us at church. And you don't even want to visit the church.
Come on.
You don't even want to come to church. And then as soon as you get in trouble, that's the first place you run to. That's a problem I have with it. I have a problem with people looking at pastors as all they take what one or two pastors have done,
Yes,
and
sir.
they put the label on everybody else. And it's no different who wants to be done like that. If you see women who are loose, you don't want to be considered loose just because this group is.
Yes, sir.
You know, you don't want to be considered can I say a hoe in the street?
Come on.
Say so,
You
Reverend.
don't want to be considered a hoe in the street based off of what 2 or 3 people do. So why are you putting that stigma on pastors that all they want is the money and the women? That's all they want, the money and the women and all that. And truth be told, and you know how I feel about this. Truth be told, if you would keep yourself in line, it would help out the pastor so much.
Come on, Reverend.
You know what I'm saying? People put pastors in corner, and don't get me wrong, I do believe that pastors are held to a higher standard
Of
by
course.
God. I do believe that, and I do believe that which is why we need to stay spiritually connected during the week, so we can take on those darts of the enemy that's thrown. You know, but you just got to get tired of preacher is this. Look at him, always over there talking and schmoozing. But then if he's sitting back and not saying anything, the preacher don't want to talk with none of those people. You know, you in a can't win situation where you don't get paid what you're worth, so to speak. But you got to keep on doing it. You can't be doing it for the money. You can't be doing it for the glamour. You can't be doing it for position. You just got to do it for God, because there's so much more that comes at you that people don't even know about, because the pastor's not going to sit there and tell people their problems. Because when you tell people their problems, they like, well, he got problems.
He can't help me.
Right.
He can't help me.
So yeah, it's man.
So Dr. Wyman, looking at some of the scandals that have happened here in the upstate with pastors, what is your stand on some of those issues, and how can we help each other to grow?
I think one of the greatest things to remember is that we all are human. And regardless if I've been pastoring 8 years or 80 years, gives me no right to judge anybody.
Exactly.
Regardless of their position. We all fall, even as pastors. I've often told my congregation, it ain't no easier for a preacher to get to heaven than it is for you. We all trying to just make it in. So I pray for those brothers. You know, I pray for all of my brethren that share the burden of preaching the gospel, because of what Pastor Perry said, because of there's that stigma that you want these women and you want the money, and sometimes when preachers move too fast into pastoring,
Ooh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
then they miss out on the training.
Yes.
They miss out on
Yes.
a lot of things that I've learned.
Yes.
I've watched
Yeah.
from Dr. Ball.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched from Dr. Barber. I didn't sit there and talk with them. I didn't sit there and hound them. I just watched them. Watched them how they handle certain situations. And sometimes, even going through school of master's and doctorate degrees, there were things I learned by sitting in Pastor Baldwin's study that I could never learn in the class.
Come on,
Exactly
man.
right.
So I think it's just important to be reminded that all of us fall. And let's really be honest.
Come on.
The reason that they're where they are now, because they got caught.
Come on.
Don't say it, Reverend.
Come
I hear
on,
your
come
voice
on.
changing.
Okay?
Yeah, come on, come
They
on,
got
come
caught.
on.
Your voice
You
changing.
know, there are some things I know. If I would have been caught everything I've done, I'd be on the news too.
You better say it,
You
buddy.
know? So, and again, but there is a importance to the position,
It is.
and we have to take this position seriously. And if you take the position seriously, that you are a pastor for God's people, that you are responsible for God's people, when those things come, then you know, those, especially for me, it is, do I want to really risk my church, risk God's calling for a little fun?
Come on, man.
You know, I'm scared now.
Come on.
I'm scared, and the Bible says we should fear the Lord.
Come on.
Listen, I ain't got no problem with that.
Come on, come on, come
I ain't
on.
got no problem with that.
Right.
Come on.
So I am in no position to judge, none whatsoever. My prayer is that every pastor, every preacher finds somebody they can talk to.
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
very
And
important.
it has to be another person in that position. I can't be a pastor and open up to a lay person.
Come on.
It just doesn't work that way, because only a pastor know what another pastor going on.
Know what
Only a
going.
preacher know what another preacher's going on.
That's right.
And we have to have that person. So when those things arise, I say, look, man, this chick came up to me after service and she hugged me a little tight, man, and I got excited, man. I need you to talk me off the ledge.
Yeah.
You know? And I can't go to one of my members and say that.
Exactly.
You know, and we're losing our pastors now. They're taking their lives. And, they falling
Sad.
away from the calling because they don't have that outlet.
You better say it, man.
Now, pressure bust pipes, now,
Yes, sir.
and they will do it.
Guys, this is so good because you're hearing it straight from two pastors who are going through it and they understand the whole concept of it. Pastor Perry, you know, same question. Looking at those scandals, you know, where do you stand on it? And what are some things that you see that can help other people grow?
First of all, pray. That needs to be the first matter, is to pray, and you have to ask God whether you should, how far you should go, because I heard somebody say this one time. Everybody's not meant to do everything.
Yeah.
You know, my brother here, Adrian, or excuse me, Dr. Wyman.
There we go.
Dr. Wyman. Dr. Wyman. If he's going through something, I can call him and tell him, hey, bro, I'm praying for you. I'm you know, you need me to pray for you. You need, you know, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
But it's some people that you just can't do that for. You have to pray from afar. And what people don't realize, prayer works whether you're right there with them or whether you're afar. Some people just want to pray with them so they can get more
They
information.
can know their business.
So they can get more information as to what's happened, so they can be the ones when people come and ask them what's going on.
Come
they
on,
can,
man.
They can give them, oh yeah, I know what's going on. A lot of pastors like to be the person who has all the answers, and I'm not willing to do that. I ask God, you know, with certain things that came up, I don't have to go to them and call them. Well, as a matter of fact, one of them I did call, and I wasn't worried about whether I talked to him or not. I left a message, say, man, I'm just praying for you. You know, I pray that the Lord finds you and just keep you, you know, through what you're going through. And that's it. You know, that's it. And everything else is in God's hands. But we as a church and we as pastors have to teach our congregation to don't go around talking about that. I got up in my congregation, got up behind the pulpit, and I said, do not go around talking about this unless y'all are talking about praying about this.
Come on.
Because we don't need the church talking about for recreation what's going on. That's not what the church is about. But that's what the church has become. The church has become Pharisees in a land where people need Jesus.
Where they need Jesus.
You know, and we become like Pharisees. I got that word coming over here thinking about the interviews and whatnot, and we become like Pharisees. That's why there's no signs and wonders in our churches, because we become like Pharisees. We everything legalism, everything has to be a certain way for people to come in. You got to be dressed a certain way. You got to look a certain way. You got to do that. When are we going to be like Jesus and just say, come as you are, which doesn't mean how you dress, but how you are.
Yes,
what your spirit is
on
like
the inside.
And we've fallen short with that in the church.
It's amazing that you say that, because there are so many people who are looking for that glimmer of Christ.
Yeah.
That's right.
I've heard about him. I hear these preachers talk about him, but I don't see no evidence.
That's right.
You get what I'm saying?
right.
They're looking for evidence. You know, there's a passage in the Bible where the disciples of John the Baptist go to Jesus and they say, "Are you the one, or should we look for another?"
Yes, that's right.
And he said, "Do the deaf hear?
Right.
Do the lame walk?"
Yeah. That's
right.
You get what I'm saying?
That's
So
right.
if there are some signs of God, then God is here.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think one thing I want to be reminded of is when Pastor Perry said he calls me, you know, if I'm going through things, to pray for me. I don't want people to think that we are just that holy. That every time we talking about the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pastor Perry will call me too, and he got a saying, and I say it all the time too. He said, "Wyman, your slip showing. If I'm doing something out of character, or if I'm getting mad, and I say, look, Doc, I'm just remember I did this, and I need to." He said, "Wyman, your slip showing." And because we are our brother's keeper,
Exactly.
you know, and so. It's not that we call each other to say, "Hey man, let's pray, let's read scripture." No, most of the time we're trying to make sure that we're not going to get caught up in some of the stuff
You better say
that
it,
everybody
man.
else is doing.
Come on,
because
come on.
it's easy to do that.
That's right.
Come on.
Because it's the flesh.
Come on.
It's the flesh that's weak.
You better say it, Doc.
So
So Dr. Wyman, what is the one constant that has helped you overcome these negative labels society has tried to put on preachers and pastors?
Relationships.
Okay.
The relationships I kept with Dr. Baldwin. I try to take him out to eat. You know, if I can feed him, I can get more information.
Yeah.
I hope he don't watch this part.
He gonna see it. He gonna see it.
I didn't say it. I hope you do.
He gonna see it. Hey, Pop, this was your son right here that said this.
Everybody know Dr. B can eat.
But I try to maintain, and I maintain a relationship not as a respect of my father in the ministry, but as, listen, I've hit this bump in the road, and I need help.
Yeah.
I'll never want to get to the point where I can't ask for help.
There you go.
Regardless of, even like I say, even with Perry, you know, that whole situation with the roof, man, that thing ministered to me, because my patience is very thin, and praying with him through that situation helped me.
Amen.
So what has kept me this far is relationships. Even relationships I have with you. You know, being able to call and text and whatever you're going through, whatever I'm going through. The fact that we all can go to Hampton and have a good time, you know. So It's the relationship
Yeah.
that have helped me, and it's the sincere.
There you go, right
Relationship.
there. Sincere relationship.
That's what has helped me.
And guys, I want to tell you this, and you don't have to be a saved Christian to understand this about sincere relationships. If you have really good, solid, sincere relationships with a person, that will truly help you to grow and it'll help keep you grounded.
Yeah.
So please get that.
Yeah.
So, Pastor Perry,
Yeah.
Pastor Perry, what steps have you taken to rise above the negative concepts of today's African American pastor?
Love.
Love.
Just love the people.
Amen.
Love the people, always encouraging the people, and trying not to be the traditional Baptist church, but trying to be the church that God wants you to be.
Amen.
Because I think a lot of people get caught up trying to do what they see another church doing. And there's nothing wrong with trying out, like they told me, because I was careful. You know, everybody knew about Bethlehem. You know, one of the biggest churches in Simpsonville, and you know, people at my church, I didn't want to come in. You know, hey, Bethlehem used to do this. Hey, Bethlehem did this.
Right.
But you know what I find out? My deacon told me, he said, well, what Bethlehem has been doing has been working. We can try it.
Wow. That's a good point.
You know?
It is.
That's a good point.
You know, so you have to kind of be patient and be prayerful of when to pull that out, when to look for it, and then when to cut your own niche.
Amen. Amen.
That's absolutely right.
You know,
Absolutely
cut your own
right.
niche, because even though Pastor Baldwin was great and great, you can call Pastor Baldwin and he'll get back with you and talk with you and advise you. He'll advise you, but he won't tell you what to do.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He knows that he'll advise you and he won't tell you what to do. But the fact remains, I can't build this kingdom like Dr. Baldwin did.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
as much as I respect everything that he did for the church and for me, it's not about being like him. It's about being what God's called.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
me to be. So that's, I don't even worry about trying to overcome those stereotypes. I just be what God wants us
There
to be.
you go.
God, perfect example, praise and worship. I think I was talking with him about that, and God told me, okay, try praise and worship right here, down in the program. It's not at the beginning. It's not at the beginning. We do our call to worship, and then after I call to worship, we do praise and worship. So, you know, that's a little, you know, for the black church.
Yeah, it's different.
That's
Yeah.
very different.
Yeah.
But we can't be afraid to be different, because we're
Exactly.
trying to reach a different generation.
You're
Exactly.
right. You're
Exactly
right.
right.
So, Dr. Wildman, in 2 words, before we close out, in 2 words, what advice would you give the people or upcoming preacher or pastor? 2 words.
Find you a mentor. Find, that's more than 2 words.
Well, that's all right. Well, 2 phrases.
Find you a mentor. Mentor, 4 words.
Mentor's
Okay.
one word.
Yeah. but find you a mentor.
Okay.
Find you somebody that's seasoned and that has your best interest.
Come on.
In mind.
Come on.
That has been. I love talking to old preachers, older preachers,
Gotcha.
seasoned preachers.
Seasoned preacher.
And I'll, you know, if I got to pay $25 for a meal to get some advice,
Come on, man.
I do it every single
That's
time.
priceless.
Yeah, yeah.
Pastor Perry, 2 phrases.
Praise not 2 words.
What advice would you give the upcoming preacher or pastor?
Do it all. God is able.
Amen.
Do it all. God is able. And just similar to what Dr. Whiteman said, find some iron to sharpen your iron.
Yeah. That's it.
Find iron to sharpen your iron. Never think that you know it all, or like you said, have arrived. That you're always learning. I don't care how big your ministry gets. You're always learning.
Amen. Amen. So, guys, listen, you heard it right here on The Shop. We've had Dr. Adrian Weidman of Mount Olive Baptist Church here. We had Pastor Perry, Pastor Vincent Perry, Vincent M. Perry.
M. Perry.
What M stand for?
M is miraculous.
from Lower Shady Grove Baptist Church. Y'all heard it here from these two pastors. They poured their heart out. They actually gave us some insight coming from the minds and the struggle of their lives being pastors. So, guys, I thank you so much, man, for being on the shop.
I appreciate
I
it.
thank you so much for being on the shop. These guys, I'm telling you, they blessed me so much. So if you want to reach out to Pastor Perry, you can reach out to him at his church's social media page or on his own social media pages. The same.
Whoa.
Cut that. That's it, y'all. I will give you his number. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Man, my number's
You can reach Dr. Wideman on his church's social media page as well as his own social media pages. He's doing some great stuff down there in Greenwood. He actually just had a rally down there. We're trying to do a ceasefire in Greenwood. For those of you who are watching me from Greenwood, please listen.
Yeah.
Put the guns down,
Please.
young man. Please,
Yeah.
It's so important.
Value
We're
life.
taking
Yeah.
people's lives, and I don't understand for what. So, guys, please hear Dr. Wideman. Please hear this message. And I always like to end the shop. I always like to end my show with a motivational quote, a motivational thought. And my motivational thought for the day is: the past is a place for the past is a place for learning, not a place for living.
That's good.
Please get that.
That's good.
Please get that. So, guys, you heard it here on the shop. Thank you all. Decide, commit, and resolve.
Everybody! It's time for the shop.